Hey, I'm sure they get longer and longer.
I think so. But there's a lot more messages, I guess, that they need to get through these days.
And it's great to see that multicultural, national, international translation. Anyway, lots of different languages is what I was going on to say. Is the light very bright behind me? Yeah.
No, it's all right. I mean, there's a glow on your head, but there's always been a glow on your head. It's like a halo thing going on.
Yeah, yeah. But I thought it was
You're like special, man. You're blessed.
I thought there was a little red thing sat here.
No, it's just the angelic kind of, the angels follow you around, don't they? Special person.
Yeah. I've got this little red thing with a tail and a couple of horns.
Yeah. That's on the other side, man. There's only one of them, and there's two of the other ones.
Yeah.
Like you're always like there's more angels and devils around you.
Yeah. Is it angels and devils, or is it angels and demons?
I think it's devils, isn't it? Maybe it's demons. I don't really know. It's not really a specialist subject of mine.
Isn't it? I would have been well versed in it.
Hmm.
Anyway, good morning, listeners, viewers, everybody across the globe. You're listening to Ammar and
Jalf,
live on our weekly show right here on Facebook, Spice FM, ABC newsletters, globally, nationally, internationally, locally, everywhere.
Yes, and each week we're going to try and bring you some views, news, and one or two clues from the business world.
The Asian Business Connections aims to connect, support, and promote the Asian and wider communities.
And we'll be talking shop quite literally, not just corner shops. Whether you're looking to start a business, have an existing business, or you just want to talk business, we can help.
We can help. We do help. So, Jack, here we are, 12th of March, 2021. Is there some further adjustments? Well, this week, all of the young people went back to school, didn't they?
I mean, obviously things are unlocking slowly, bit by bit. And I think it can only be a good thing that we have some kind of normality back. Hopefully, this is just going to slowly release itself and go back to anything close to how life used to be prior to March the 15th of 2020. So I think it's good signs, and hopefully there's progress for sure.
I hope so. And I was just trying to see what the plans and the deadlines and the dates are and things like that. So just interesting.
Well, I think the next big day is the 12th, isn't it, Ammar? Or is there some other little things happening before the 12th of April?
Yeah, I think there was like sort of a loosening of restrictions generally. So let's just make sure that we are sharing the right information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's very, very important to be able to clear on what you can and cannot do. So national lockdown still remains stay at home. Coronavirus remains a serious threat across the country. And so what's changed? So 8th of March, some of the rules on what you can and cannot do changed on 8th of March, on Monday, Jeff. As part of the COVID-19 response spring 2021. And outdoor recreation, you can spend time in outdoor public places, spaces for recreation on your own, with your household or support bubble, or with one other person.
Excellent.
So this means you can sit down for a drink or picnic. You must continue to maintain social distance from those outside of your household. is in addition to outdoor exercise, which was already permitted. So you weren't allowed to meet previously. You were allowed to exercise previously, but you weren't allowed to meet. It's interesting. Lots of people have misunderstood that, haven't they? Education and childcare, pupils and students in all schools and further education settings should return to face-to-face education. Wraparound childcare can reopen and other children's activities can restart only where it is needed to enable parents to work, attend education, seek medical care, or attend a support group. Vulnerable children can attend childcare and other children's activities in all circumstances. Students on practical higher education courses at English universities who have not already returned and would be unable to complete their courses if they did not return to take part in practical teaching, accessing specialist facilities or complete assessments will be able to return to higher education. Travel out of the UK. There will continue to be restrictions on international travel. Holidays will not be permitted. Reason to travel. Those seeking to leave the UK must complete an outbound declaration of travel form. Visiting a care home. The rules on visiting care homes have changed to allow regular indoor visits for a single named visitor. National lockdown, stay at home. So you should follow this guidance in full. Approximately 1 in 3 people who have coronavirus have no symptoms and could be spreading it without realizing it. When you can leave home, you must not leave or be outside of your home, except where you have a reasonable excuse. This is the law, Jaff. The police can take action against you if you leave home without a reasonable excuse. Issue you with a fine. You can be given a fixed penalty notice of £200 for the first offence, doubling for further offences, up to a maximum of £6,400. A reasonable excuse includes work, if you cannot work from home, volunteering, essential activities like going to the shops or services, education and childcare, meeting others in care. You can leave home to visit people in your support bubble if you are legally permitted to form one. You can provide emergency assistance to attend a support group. So I think we need to start having some support groups in your restaurant with some food. It's, to provide emergency assistance. No, in all seriousness, right? Given the level and depth and despair associated with mental well-being, I think it's great that they've allowed support bubbles to remain and support groups, because it's allowed for people to come together in a socially distanced type of environment, you know, which is really interesting. So yeah, and really, that's the extent of what has changed this week. So,
well, like you said, it's progress. And
what's your concerns, Jack?
Just think it's all a little bit slow. I think it needs to be. I mean, we've been in lockdown since October. You know, lockdown 2. We haven't come out of lockdown 2 in many ways. They did, some regions did, but our region didn't. So I think it's a very long time. We're already 6 months, October, November, December, January, February, March. I mean, it's 6 months into this new lockdown. And what they're saying that we can't get back to normal in our industry until June, they say. So and those dates, you know, with the way that they've gone about things, are we supposed to go all out, Ammar, based on the government's advice, right? Yes, thank you very much. Okay, we'll plan for May opening and June we'll go back to normal. But then what if they change things in 2 months' time? And what about all the investment and the money and the pain that you go through? So it's such a difficult situation. And everything just costs money. And I think the government, they don't realize there's little bits of funding that you get, but that funding is not enough for the uncertainty that they provide. They should give us it should be concrete. That look, under no circumstances, no matter what happens, look, guys, go on plan, go and get your businesses ready to go on the starting line, and we guarantee on the 17th that you're going to be fully operational, as we've said, no matter what happens. Now, that's the kind of statement that they need to make, because whilst I'm moving forward, I'm also very nervous. I'm looking to recruit 20 new people for the opening on the 12th. Now, what do I say to these people, Ammar? And you probably can't even put them on furlough, right? And they all come on board, and they come from different cities, change their, because I'm recruiting from different nationally. So they come and settle themselves in Newcastle, and all of a sudden the government changes the laws, makes it an issue, and I don't need those people, because the capacity that I thought that I was going to have is being taken away again. But then you can't put them onto the furlough system, because the last deadline for that was whenever it was, November or whatever it was, October. So all of these people, what they're going to do? So those are that's just one example of the uncertainty that we face, and that all businesses face. And this is not too indifferent to what they've done to us in the past. This is the same situation in the last lockdown in October. You have 3 weeks, give us 3 weeks. We're going to, bring down the curve, and you're going to be open on October the whatever. And it's the same that they told us in December the 2nd, but nothing happened. It was terrible. So I don't know, Emma, what do we do in these circumstances? Do we do things, because where I'm looking at it, I'm doing things with a safety net, and the safety net has always been a takeaway forever, which at the end of the day, you can only do X amount of sales as you would as a restaurant. So and it's not a healthy outlook, and it's definitely not going to lead to a healthy future from a business perspective, but it's just survival. But I mean, are we supposed to be in survival mode forever? I mean, is that how it is? Or are we allowed to kind of go and do what we should be doing as operators?
Well, and this is the challenge, right? Because you've almost got a groundswell of businesses like your good self within leisure and hospitality who are wholly dependent upon people coming to buy something physically, primarily, and are now gearing up for that surge. Some places are booked out now from the 12th of April for 2
Yeah, they are. And yeah, and it's looking, and it should be the case, because everyone wants to be out. The businesses need to get things back to normal. It's been unbelievable. But it's these changes that can have, that's just going to I think that future changes are going to destroy so many businesses. It really, really is. So I don't really know. It's really tough. I think everyone is going out, but I would be mindful. I mean, do you go and invest another £20,000 a month outdoor seating? Because the pavement cafes, they're kind of quite easy to get. They're quite easy to get these days. It's a standard application. It costs £100. If you've got the space, and then you'll get a pavement cafe. They'll give it to you. So but you need to spend. You need to make the application. You need to spend time on it. You have to get the designer to design it. You have to then invest in chairs, table furniture, heating, light, this, that, and the other. Get electricians on board and get joiners on board and make that happen. Spend a few quid, and then all of a sudden say, "Oh, sorry, people of this country. Actually, the next variant is here, and yeah, we're changing the plans again. What with what? Giving us £1,000 or something for compensation that doesn't get us anywhere. So it's so difficult. But I guess what can we do about it? We can just try our best, which is what I know a lot of people are doing. So we just have to see where we are and be as positive as we can be, but have your safety net, because without the safety net, you're just gonna not go. I mean, I've heard rumors that all the big boys, they're not going to open up fully. You know, all the retailers, they're going to close off some floors and they're going to readjust, because they just think that the demand is not going to be there as there was in the past. I'm not too sure. So because if you imagine, Ammar, the retailers were all built for you to, you know, how many people used to go into Phoenix at any one time, and having that buzz and having you know, the shops full, that was just what made it so nice. I know there was moments of irritation, but they're never going to be to those levels. So I don't know. We'll see where we are. But I mean, the casualties, I have not heard of many casualties though, which I'm quite surprised about. You know, as you heard in the first lockdown.
Well, okay. So if you look at the government's announcements and the statistics around certain sectors and areas being significantly impacted and affected. So there was a number of statistical announcements made today.
Okay.
And I was equally following, because I like listening, I like learning, I like understanding. I do a lot of broader, wider sort of analysis and environmental scanning. But to give you some examples, you know, there have been a number of casualties on a larger scale. So the restaurant group, you know, from 650 restaurants, they've scaled down to 400. So there's going to be 250 less restaurants across the UK.
That's the group that owns Frankie and Benny's and such.
And there's a number of examples of organizations that are doing exactly that job.
I mean,
so you know, you may not see necessarily the independents immediately closing, because at this moment in time, you still have the crutches are there. You know, the life support is on, and in earnest and in all honesty, it'll become very different and apparent in the next 3, 4, 5 months, because all of the loans that people took, they're now due to start being repaid. The government has announced that you can extend and you can accrue more interest, but all you're doing is rolling over that problem down the line. So don't know whether that in itself is an option. And from June, where furlough is withdrawn, that's, you know, the biggest thing propping up our economy, to put it bluntly, Jalf, is furlough.
Well, how is that propping up the economy in terms of giving people the money so that they go and spend and pay their rents and this, that, and the other? Yeah.
So if you think about it, right, there's something like, the calculation is that people at home, there is something ridiculous like £27 billion that people have accrued over the last however many months, having not gone out and spent and done all of the things that they would normally do. Right? So there's 27 billion pounds that people have got. Now, look, if you're on furlough and you're getting £2,500 or whatever it is, but you're not going out and you're not necessarily spending lots and you're not doing lots of stuff, and you may have you know, low levels of rent to pay or whatever that proportion is. And lots of people have taken mortgage holidays. Lots of people have took, you know, everyone sort of took advantage. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people have took advantage of all of the support. You know, I certainly wouldn't suggest or recommend anybody delays any debt payments that they have, if they can afford to pay it. But people's mindset is a bit different. People's mindset is very much around the here and now rather than looking to the down the line in the future.
Mhm.
So furlough, what will happen clearly, and this is my opinion, absolutely. But what we're going to see happen is 12th of April, people still remaining on furlough in certain sectors and certain jobs because, uh, just because that's the way it is. So
Mhm.
it's not until June that everybody and everywhere gets the opportunity, hopefully, to come out of where we're at. From April, May, June, there'll be a couple of months of people on furlough. They're not doing anything. Kids are back at school. They'll be out partying,
Mhm.
eating, drinking, spending. Shops will be open. People spending. So we're going to see, I guarantee, 3 to 6 months of the economy doing that,
Mhm.
right? Because
Mhm.
everybody's desperate to get out.
Mhm.
Everybody's desperate to go and socialize and spend money and all of those things that have been restricted over the last 12 months, in all honesty. People are
Mhm.
just desperate. Get out,
Mhm.
do it. So we're going to see 3 to 6 months of that Black Eye Friday or whatever it is that we're going to experience. Um, and that 3 months, 6 months at, um, at the most is going to feel like Christmas every day,
Mhm.
right?
Well, let's hope so.
Well, okay, I'm just saying it's going to feel like that. I'm not saying it is.
Mhm.
And after that period, it's just going to go like that. Going to fall off a cliff, literally,
Mhm.
because companies will have to pay back all of the debt. People will not be on furlough.
Mhm.
The economy generally, people will be sick, and realize that they've got bills to pay. Jobs will become more scarce. And I'm not being like a doom and gloom person. I'm just
Mhm.
stating how I believe it's going to be.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, whilst obviously we want to encourage people to get out and sort of enjoy themselves and things like that, do so with a tempered approach and a forward-thinking approach, and do consider the future, because before you know it, it'll be here. So I imagine, Jaff, independence generally that you would have expected to see um, sort of close. We're probably looking at Q3 for that to happen.
Mhm.
Um, we're probably, this winter winter's coming. So I don't know whether you're familiar with that program that everybody was Game of Thrones. Have you seen any of it, or did you ever?
Little bits of it, little bits of it. It was interesting, but unfortunately, I missed the moment to watch it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
There was a hype and a buzz about it and things like that. But yeah,
yeah.
Game of Thrones, it all sort of.
Spice FM. Spice FM. Hotter than a Vindaloo curry. 98.8 FM.
कोविड-19 कोरोना वायरस के सिलसिले में हुकूमत की तरफ से आपके लिए ताज़ा तरीन हिदायत। ये निहायत ज़रूरी है कि हम सब घर पर रहें। हमें सिर्फ इन वजूहात की बिना पर अपने घर से निकलने की इजाज़त है। अगर आप किसी की देखभाल करते हैं या किसी के केयरर हैं, वो ज़रूरी काम जो आप घर से नहीं कर सकते या ज़रूरी खरीदारी के लिए आप अपने घर से बाहर जा सकते हैं। घरेलू तशद्दुद या कोई ज़रूरी तिब्बी इमदाद के लिए अगर आप अपने लिए या अपने ख़ानदान के लिए कोई मेडिकल सपोर्ट चाहते हैं तो आपको अपने घर से बाहर जाने की इजाज़त है। आप अपने ख़ानदान के अफराद के अलावा किसी दूसरे से अपने या दूसरे के घर पर नहीं मिल सकते। ये इंतहाई जरूरी है कि हम हुकूमत की दी हुई गाइडलाइन से जुड़े रहें और उस पर अमल करें। मजीद मालूमात के लिए आप गवर्नमेंट या NHS की वेबसाइट से राबता कर सकते हैं। घर पर रहें, अपनी और दूसरों की जिंदगियां बचाएं, NHS को बचाएं। शुक्रिया।
कोरोना वायरस ਦੇ ਮਸਲੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਡੀ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਖਬਰਾਂ ਭੇਜੀਆਂ ਆ। ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਆ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਘਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਆ। ਇਜਾਜ਼ਤ ਸਿਰਫ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਲਈ ਆ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੀ ਦੇਖਭਾਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੇ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਆ। ਜੋ ਕੰਮ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਘਰ ਤੋਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਜਾਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਸਮਾਨ ਦੁਕਾਨ ਤੋਂ ਲੈਣਾ ਪਿਆ ਜੇ ਡਿਲੀਵਰੀ ਨਾ ਆਈ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਮੈਡੀਕਲ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਲਈ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਣਾ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਆਪਣੇ ਘਰ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਬੁਲਾਉਣਾ ਮਨਾ ਆ। ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਆ ਜੋ ਸਾਡੀ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਨੇ ਭੇਜੀਆਂ ਆ। ਗਾਈਡਲਾਈਨਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੇ ਰਹੋ। ਹੋਰ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਲਈ ਤੁਸੀਂ gov.uk ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ nhs.uk ਤੇ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ। ਘਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹੋ, NHS ਦੀ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਕਰੋ ਤੇ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀਆਂ ਬਚਾਓ।
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Spice FM 98.8 FM.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that wasn't as long as what I envisaged.
Yeah. All right. So here we are. You're listening to Ammar and
Jalf.
with some community announcements. So just to make sure that we cater for everyone within those community announcements, Jaff, those announcements say stay at home, protect one another, and save some lives.
Cool, that's good. I mean, yeah, it's more or less the same message, but obviously in so many different languages for so many the various different types of listeners that we have.
So Jaff, yeah, we were sort of dwelling on what's potentially going to happen and such like, and one of your biggest concerns, understandably, is the potential shift in any of those dates, because we have experienced that a couple of times where we've come out, gone back in, come out, gone back in, and it would be catastrophic if that was to occur even. Chris Whitty during this week did suggest that there was going to be a fourth phase of an increase in coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
And
So we're going to do lock down the whole country again to stop it, because you're locking down the countries. Why haven't you got rid of it?
Yeah, it's anyway.
You lock down the country, but why have we not got rid of corona? That would be my argument. So it's not clearly it doesn't go away if you lock down the country. So you might as well try it when you don't lock down the country, like some other countries have done.
Yeah.
Why don't they give that a try? Maybe it's toss the coin and boom, and see if it lands on heads or tails.
Fair enough. I don't know what to say about that. Let's focus on the future. Let's try and be positive, but be cautious. Be prepared. Mm-hmm. That's the most important thing. The people that have got through this pandemic, are those that you can describe as being resilient, and having resilience both personally and professionally and in your business is critical.
Ammar, there's a few experiences that I've had. I'm wondering if any other business people have had experiences like this. So I've got a source who I've known for over a decade now. It's a company in Spain. I do a lot of business with them, and they do all of our packaging that we have. So for 10 years, 12 years, he's been a very reliable source. I've never met him before. I've had the odd FaceTime call with him, but everything is done via emails, phone calls, and I have a very close, respectful, honest relationship with him. Trust him implicitly. We do thousands of pounds worth of business on trust. And then he told me about the supply chain for anything to do with craft material, whether it's the Amazon style boxes, paper, packaging, anything to do with craft. So what's happened is Amazon have basically brought out all the supply chain in the entire world, more or less, for anything to do with craft. right? And if you try and get a hold of anything craft material, which is the way that things have gone more recently when they've said no to plastics, no to plastic, no to plastics. Okay, brilliant. We're going to all be kind of saying no to plastics, and we're going to give you guys this sustainable, eco-friendly packaging. But how can we get a hold of it when Bezos has bought everything? So my guy in Spain, he's like, well, look, unfortunately, the item that you wanted, which would ordinarily be a 6-week turnaround, is now 6 months, and the price is hiked up, and there's no guarantees that, you know, we're going to be able to get the product for you. So it's so nerve-wracking when if you imagine as an operator, you might not be able to get the takeaway bags in craft because the raw materials are not there. And I read up on something like this happening as being when the big guys get so big, and who's going to implement any type of strategy against Bezos and say to him, well, sorry, because we're not going to allow you to have this monopoly in the world because you're going to just keep everything to yourself and no one else is going to have anything. But that's a real kind of problem. That's the first time that's ever come to light in my head that, oh my God, we're suffering from this type of problem. And that's a very serious one. And if you imagine, Ammar, that then expands beyond packaging. Imagine it goes into food, it goes into the other things where that the big boys buy everything. There's nothing left for anybody else. So what on earth do we do then? How on earth do we survive? I mean, and have you experienced anything on similar type of lines to that example of packaging, Ammar?
Well, sorry, simply put, yes. And I have been aware of this because it's been sort of promoted and publicized more broadly. So it's been publicized for a very, very long time. And the challenges aren't just with cardboard. So it's packaging, right, primarily. And it's because Amazon's using up that much packaging. You know, I was reading one of the statistics and on Amazon, and they had delivered 3 billion packages over a period of time. And this was before COVID. I was looking at the statistics on the background and the backdrop to Amazon. But so some of the challenges and some of the impact of on the economy, Jalf, that I was making reference to that have been announced, right? So there's been a 68% reduction in the exporting of food products, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's been a 68% drop in the exporting of food products, like more than 50, nigh on 2/3, but more than 2/3, right? Nigh on 4/5, if I was doing fractions properly. But anyway, right? And it's because of you've got almost a perfect storm. So you've got global operators, right, buying up. So Amazon buying up all packaging, right? You've got larger organizations. So you've got all of the supermarkets buying up produce and products, right? You've got larger organizations that can, so construction companies are buying up all of the materials, all of the big construction companies. So if you're an independent, or if you're a small or a medium-sized business, you're going to struggle, full stop. So material demand has gone up so much. Yeah, last week, insulation went up. So property insulation went up 10%.
Yeah.
Right? So because there's that much building going on, and the big boys, as you call them, or girls, to be politically correct, are just buying up and monopolizing. So the smaller people are being squeezed. We're having to pay more because the people at the top of that chain, the supply chain, can go, we're not paying you that much, and if you want to trade with us, we want to keep squeezing you. So then so if I'm a farmer and if I'm making 1 pence on a pint of milk at Tesco's, but then I'm going to sell it to a local shop, I'm going to try and increase that margin quite significantly, aren't I?
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to sell it to Tesco's. So it's an incredibly different and complex economy now that everybody needs to consider. So, the most important thing now is, I think, everybody just sell up, go and sit on a beach somewhere, just enjoy the rest of your life. Take it easy.
And also, ultimately, though, the consequences of all of this, it's a matter of passing that cost on to the end consumer, where we'll probably see the prices skyrocket in everything and everywhere that we go.
You're seeing that anyway, Jack, and people aren't noticing. So the cost of so because of the whole way that the economy is structured right now, we're not seeing the levels of inflation, right? Because it's certain products or sectors or spaces that have increased their pricing. But the cost of living, I mean, look, Jeff, anyone listening, sort out your electricity and gas and utilities before the end of the month, because there is a huge hike coming.
Yeah.
Right? So utilities, they're going up like that.
Yes.
Because that whole supply chain is being squeezed. The cost of everything's going to go up. There's no question about that. And that's just a vicious circle and a vicious cycle. So when I was talking about the perfect storm, about 3, 6, 12 months. Now, if all of a sudden, that Happy Meal goes from £2.69 to £4.99, you're not going to be as happy, are you? Going to McDonald's, but and if McDonald's adjust their prices, then
everyone else is going to will do something as well.
They'll have to.
And that's where we are at the moment, and I think that's going to be the biggest challenge moving forward. I think if those little operators, they're not brave to put their prices up, I think they'll be running on a false economy. I think I've already heard a lot of rumbles in the kind of takeaway world. I'm talking more the little conventional takeaways, because they do a certain level of business, and they've got platforms that they put themselves on, whether it be Deliveroo, Just Eat, Uber Eats, and the like. And when those operators start to take 30% of their revenue, and the prices are not reflecting the true price that it should, at the bottom line, they find that there's not much happening on the bottom line of that. I think, and that murky world of the little operators historically, where there was, and this is a kind of open, I'm sure the tax man knows this, but there's that little the game of cash that used to happen in these businesses, and it still probably happens in some. When there's no cash, and there's those that are on benefits that want to top up their salaries cash in hand because of benefit. If they do go on work for 40 hours elsewhere and they're making, let's say, the minimum wage, 4 times 8 is 360 quid or something, that it doesn't make sense for them to come off their benefits to earn that 360 quid. So they've always done this top up and tried to seek cash from certain businesses where they would pay them cash. But once that stops and there's no cash, and that whole...
I don't know. I don't know any about that. I don't know what you're talking about, and it's more important.
Yeah, Ammar, but look, the point is, Ammar, look, the point is, those individuals that are on a benefit situation, and the cash is gone, they have to make decisions then on what they want to do. And I think there's another huge that market is going to get hit so hard, because operators just can't do things the way that they used to do it, and it's going to be so messy. So, and what will they do? I don't really know what the way forward is.
Look. So here's a few observations once again from my point of view. We're going to see a resurgence of cash. That hasn't gone. You know, people will use it. People have it. People, gosh, you know, people. My late mother and father, they always just had cash. They didn't like having it anywhere else. You know,
we don't see much, Ammar. We don't see much. It's very little.
We've obviously changed that, and don't get me wrong, there will be undoubtedly, and you know, there will be an adjustment, so to speak, on people carrying and using cash, and they find it far more convenient and such like. But just like everybody is desperate to get out and meet people and do things that they wouldn't necessarily do day in, day out, and all of that. You know, the amount of people who want to go to a rave who probably have never been to a rave. You know, the amount of people who want to go to a festival who might not have been that interested in a festival. There's all of these things and experiences and things, which is great, right? And I don't doubt there's going to be an aspect of that. But equally, where cash is concerned, yes, you know, certainly generational shifts have occurred where people no longer want. I mean, God, young people don't have cash. They don't. You know, it's just all digital. In fact, they now get accustomed to spend virtual digital money. Is what they do. So the likes of my children, certainly my son, he sits and spends this virtual cash. He buys, gets me to buy some Robux or whatever it is, right? And he uses his pocket money to buy virtual, not even real money, and spends that. I mean, what type of habit is that creating? Right? And that's thousands, millions of kids. You know, the likes of Minecraft, the likes of all of these platforms, they've got like tens of millions of young users. And this is what they're getting accustomed to. So the likelihood of them ever feeling, seeing, you know, using, transacting in cash certainly is far less than you and I. But whilst there remains our generation and the generations above us, we will, you know, continue to use cash. So there'll be a resurgence in the use of it, not to the extent that it was before COVID, but it certainly hasn't gone away. And then secondly, look, I'm hoping that those operators that, you know, sadly have dependent upon that mechanism that you're making reference to, have realized the impact of doing that, because it prohibited them from then accessing some of the support that was made available more broadly and widely. Because if you didn't put everything through your books and you didn't pay your taxes or record them accordingly, you weren't eligible for a lot of the support that was offered.
Ammar, another thing that would be interesting to touch upon, this lady in London who was murdered by a police officer, and subsequently, I think there was, I can't remember the name of the minister in the House of Lords. Did you hear about that when she came up and she said that all men should be curfewed till 6 o'clock because they're very dangerous? Did you hear that?
No, I didn't.
Oh my goodness. How can someone actually who's in the Houses of Lords come up and make a statement like that? I was just flabbergasted. Because based on that one kind of crime that happened, which is absolutely awful. But I mean, how can a minister even come up with that kind of a statement?
Look, you know, so there's, and here's the challenge, Jeff. So Baroness Jones calls for a ban on so she talks about, so it was Baroness Green says that men should be curfewed from 6 p.m, as you say.
Yeah.
And what's really, really important and what's so sad about the responses and reactions to these type of issues or challenges or crimes or whatever there is people just love jumping on a bandwagon, right? So there's something going past, I'm going to jump on it, I'm going to make a comment, and now look, there is a problem with a very small proportion of men that do domestically abuse women or have a extreme view. That said, it has been proven, and it is a matter of fact, that there are a number, not the same number, but there are a number of men that are abused by women, right?
Mhm.
And what is particularly wrong is to label and categorize everyone in the same way. Now,
Mm.
I'm all for gender equality. I'm all for race equality. In fact, when I talk about equality, I'm talking about equal opportunity. Whoever you are, what you do, where you do it, right? You should have the chance and the opportunity to do what you want. You shouldn't be prohibited because of your color or your race or your gender. Now, physiology speaking, the makeup of men and women generally is different. So, and we're talking about a humankind lifetime. So ever since man and woman was created, and ever since man and woman have been around, they have played particular roles and genetically have been modified to play those roles. There's certain things that men would never do, right? So, should we be sort of screaming and kicking off that I cannot carry a baby? Should I be complaining of that fact? I think it'd be a really interesting experience, to be honest. And having not experienced it, would I be uncomfortable with trying to give it a go? Don't know, right? But I'm just genetically not created, and I certainly don't want to be modified to do that. And we need to recognize some of that. Now, the reason why I'm making reference to this, Jalf, is it's really important that people with a voice in power, in positions of power, don't create such a groundswell of vigilant, extreme views and start polarizing all men and categorizing them as monsters.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, that lady should resign or should be sacked. I mean, those are the only two options for making silly statements like that in a position of power. I mean, it's just ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous. So her argument is that before 5 o'clock he's all right. As soon as he gets to 6, he turns into, you know that movie, Ammar, what was it called when we were growing up? No, there was something to do with a London werewolf or something after, you know.
Oh, the American werewolf in London.
Yeah. So after a certain time, you know, you got to be careful because he's just gonna change because that's how he's built. You know, that's what we all are. We're all werewolves. I mean, she looked like a werewolf. She looked like a werewolf to me.
Anyway,
Did you not think?
Say that.
I think she's a werewolf myself. I would tell her that. Why not? What's wrong with that?
You can't say that. Anyway, that is wrong, and it's wrong for you to say that. Anyway, the point that you're making is a very valid one, Jalf. right? It is a damn shame. And it's the same thing around racism, right? So one of the things that we haven't touched upon is Harry and Meghan's interview. And I was really disappointed, and I need to put it out there. I was upset at Piers Morgan walking off and not being part of Great Morning Britain. And that's not to say that I agree with everything that Piers Morgan says or does. I think, but I think that we do need voices that speak out and share their views and their opinions. And if he's offended lots of people, then clearly he's wrong. But he shouldn't have like walked off. I get up very, very early, so you know I'm up 4:30, 5 a.m. and by 6 I'm ready to do a workout. And in the colder months, I don't go into the gym, so to speak. I just stay in the snug and bring my kettlebells and everything else. So I do my workout in front of a telly, and I watch Piers and Susanna, and it makes me chuckle. And you know, it's really, really interesting because he does hold people to account, and if he's got a view, he's not frightened of his view and such like. So if he's offended, I disagree with his view that he has of Meghan and Harry. He's openly suggested he doesn't like them and what they say and what they do. But you know, equally, it's wrong to suggest that every single member of the royal family is racist. You know, it's particularly wrong, and I was saddened by that. I hold the royal family in very high regard. Now, going back to my point around humankind and people and where we've come from, Jaff, the royal family have had to, you know, they're in a particular bubble, so to speak. They have particular responsibilities, they have particular influences, they are relatively distant from the broader, wider, and protected from the broader, wider world and such like. They do make a huge effort. And some of the experiences that I've had are truly incredible. I mean, I stood at the front of St. Paul's Cathedral. I was asked out of 130,000 people to come and share a pedestal with Her Majesty the Queen, right? Stand there and sit next to her and stand at St. Paul's Cathedral. Now, you know, for me, that doesn't necessarily say that they're not racist. But put it this way, if I was a racist, I wouldn't want some Geordie Pakistani dude coming and sharing prayer with me.
I think, Ammar, I think what Prince Harry alluded to was nice as far as he said, well, look, the Queen is my grandmother, and I love my grandmother. But
we've got 30 seconds.
The fact is, Ammar, the institution is bigger than the Queen herself, and the institution is historic and it's over thousands of years. So at the end of the day, that can't change immediately. So, but maybe there was an opportunity to use Meghan in a different way than what she was. And like you said, she's part of the Commonwealth. They could have been more embracing of her, but it's an institution. So it's not about personalities, is it? And I think the Queen, like you said, your experiences and the way that we look at the Queen is look, she is the Queen of this country. She is Her Majesty.
I love the Queen. God save the Queen. And so you've been listening to Ammar and
Jalf
live on our weekly radio show and also across the internet. Look, it's really, really important that we respect and appreciate one another. We don't jump on bandwagons. Don't take advantage of sentiment.
Sick of the same old radio sound? Then you need vibrant radio. Spice up your life.
See you next week.
Spice FM 98.8 FM.